Coronation Street confirms Gary Windass issues a chilling warning to evil Theo. Gary finally takes Theo on. Coronation Street has released a preview for an upcoming episode, revealing the moment Gary Windass delivers a dark and ominous threat to Theo Silverton after discovering the truth about how he has been treating Todd Grimshaw. Over the last few months, the ITV soap has been telling a disturbing domestic abuse storyline, with Theo becoming more and more controlling, manipulative, and aggressive towards his partner Todd. Although Theo has managed to keep much of his abusive behavior hidden behind closed doors, the truth is now beginning to come out, and events are finally starting to catch up with him. Earlier this week, Theo's mask began to slip when George Shuttleworth overheard one of his furious outbursts, exposing a side of him that Todd's loved ones had only begun to suspect. After George shared his fears with Christina Boyd and Summer Spellman, the concerns are then passed on to Glenda Shuttleworth and Sarah Platt. Sarah later takes what she knows to Gary, who is also one of Theo's closest friends. Once Gary hears the accusations, he decides to go with Todd back to the flat, and it is there that he catches Theo in the middle of another abusive outburst. According to an insider, Theo starts lashing out the moment he hears Todd's key in the door, completely unaware that Todd has not come home alone. The source explained that after witnessing Theo's true behavior for himself, Gary wastes no time in seeing him for what he really is. As a result, he later sacks Theo from the builder's yard and leaves him with a blunt warning to be very careful. In scenes due to air on Sunday, 29th of March, Gary begins to grow suspicious when Todd appears to be hiding away in the bedroom. He also points out to Theo that Todd seems visibly nervous and unsettled. At one point, Gary remarks that they have only been married for 2 days, and yet Todd is already keeping out of sight in another room. After an awkward laugh between the two men, Gary then adds that Todd's hands were shaking even while he was making a cup of tea. Trying to brush it off, Theo dismisses Todd as just being naturally anxious and suggests his behavior is linked to the accusations currently being aimed at George. But when Gary makes it clear that his concerns have nothing to do with George, Theo is forced to ask whether there is a problem. Gary then openly challenges him over what Sarah has told him and makes it clear that there will be consequences if the accusations turn out to be true. He warns Theo that if he discovers Todd really has been abused, he will deal with it personally. He also reminds him of what happened with Noah, making it plain that this is not an empty threat. Gary finishes by making it clear that Theo is now being watched and that people are beginning to see through him. Left visibly shaken, Theo tries to insist that Gary has completely misunderstood the situation. But with more and more people in Weatherfield starting to notice the warning signs, the question now is whether Theo has finally run out of places to hide. Coronation Street confirms another huge Meghan revelation on ITVX. Megan Walsh's storyline takes another explosive turn as the Driscolls uncover a shocking baby clue. But could it finally be enough to bring her down? Coronation Street's Megan Walsh faces a major new twist tonight as the Driscoll family stumble across a startling discovery involving her pregnancy. The big question now is whether this latest development could finally provide the evidence needed to bring her to justice. Megan is fighting desperately to protect her future after being exposed for grooming local teenager Will Driscoll. But with no decisive proof yet in the hands of the police, she is refusing to go down without a fight. In tonight's episode, Megan is subjected to intense questioning at the police station about the nature of her relationship with Will. She sticks firmly to the cover story they previously agreed on, claiming that Will developed an inappropriate crush on her after she became his athletics coach and insisting that she rejected his advances. Will then repeats exactly the same version of events during his own police interview with DC Kit Green. Even so, the situation is still looking increasingly bleak for Megan. Secret footage recorded by Sam Blakeman shows that she was alone in a flat with Will outside of official coaching sessions, suggesting that their relationship was far more personal than she is admitting. The Driscolls are also holding on to hope that the police's digital forensics team may be able to recover deleted CCTV footage from the Chariot Square Hotel, where Megan and Will had booked a room on the night of his 16th birthday. Meanwhile, a separate discovery sends shockwaves through the family. When Leanne decides to throw Megan out and begins searching through her belongings, she comes across a stash of pregnancy vitamins. Realizing that Will could potentially be the father, Leanne quickly shares what she has found with Eva, Ben, Toya, and Ollie. The group then begins reflecting on Megan's earlier claims that she had undergone an abortion, remembering how she had previously confided in Leanne about the situation only weeks before. Still unsure what to believe, Leanne makes it clear that something about the story still does not sit right with her. When Toya suggests that the baby is no longer part of the equation, Leanne questions whether that is really true. She points out that it makes little sense for someone to still be keeping pregnancy vitamins in a bedside drawer if they had genuinely ended the pregnancy. Eva then takes the thought one step further, suggesting that if Megan has been lying, the evidence they need may literally still be growing inside her. So has Megan finally sealed her own fate? Coronation Street's Theo Silverton starts planning a double exit after Gary's threat. Theo's mask slips even further as Todd's domestic abuse storyline takes another major turn. Coronation Street has also aired a major development in Todd Grimshaw's domestic abuse storyline as Theo Silverton begins to realize that more and more people are starting to see through him. Now that Todd's loved ones are beginning to recognize Theo's true nature, the villain starts making plans for an escape of his own. But the real question is whether Todd will agree to go with him for a so-called fresh start in Ireland, or whether this could finally be his chance to break free. Tonight's episode opened with a secret meeting between Glenda Shuttleworth, Sarah Platt, Summer Spellman, and Christina Boyd, as George filled them in on what he had recently witnessed. He explained his belief that Theo has been abusing Todd, while the others added their own memories and observations that now seem to support his fears. The conversation is then abruptly interrupted when Todd arrives and quickly realizes what is being discussed. Furious, Todd immediately jumps to Theo's defense and insists that every incident they have brought up can be explained away. But in a deeply revealing moment, Todd angrily denies being a battered husband, despite the fact that nobody had even accused Theo of physical violence. That comment leaves George visibly emotional, as he suddenly realizes just how serious and deep-rooted the abuse may actually be. Elsewhere, Sarah later goes to speak to Gary Windass, sharing everything she knows and asking him whether Todd seemed unusual at the surprise wedding. As the pieces begin falling into place, Gary soon realizes the truth may be far darker than he first thought, and heads straight over to Todd and Theo's flat to see for himself.